Hello and welcome back. My name is Stefano and today we're going to take a look at TP-Link's EAP615-Wall access point. TP-Link did not send these over to me. This video is not sponsored by TP-Link. A good friend of mine, Luis, sent these over to me. Thanks for that, by the way. Just to check them out so we can get an idea of what to expect if you were to get a product like this. Now, to be clear, this isn't an in-detailed review or anything like that, but we will cover some of the basics about this product and some general information that is more or less important if you're looking at integrating these to your Omada environment at home. So, if you don't have an Omada environment at home, these can be set up in standalone mode, which means that you will basically need to provide your own PoE adapter, or you'll have to have a PoE Plus capable switch. In this case, I am using all TP-Link hardware, so that's not something I have to worry about. And if you're curious to know how all of this has set up, we have created a video previously doing a complete TP-Link Omada installation as well as configuration guide. So that's available, link up here and in the video description below for that. So moving forward, in order to make this happen, to provide that PoE Plus power or power over Ethernet, we will be using TP-Link's 8-port PoE Plus capable switch. So this is able to do 802.3 AF compliancy and maybe even AS or AT compliant, whatever the other one is, to provide power to this unit as well as other PoE Plus capable devices. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get this thing unboxed. So I'll show you what to expect from one of these, as well as hooked up so we can start doing some pretty basic tests. Let's go. All right, what's in the box? Honestly, there's not a whole lot to be seen inside of here. Of course, we have the installation guide, which is probably important if you want to how to install this in a standalone mode, as well as connecting it to your access point, your Omada access point, that is. We have, I don't know what this is, and then a license notice. And then, of course, we have the device itself in this nice bag. And the TP-Link access point. So this is pretty nice looking. It's got an all white glossy finish on the front, and on the rear is just your matte white. And then of course here is the PoE in, so this is Gigabit in here. And then we have 3 Gigabit ports on bottom. This port right here is capable of providing PoE Plus at 12 watts. So a low power device will work perfectly fine here. And in Europe, it can do 13 watts. And of course, you can plug in other devices like a PlayStation or whatever it may be into the other ports here. Also in the box is your mounting plate or bracket. I'm not sure of the exact terminology for this, but this will go into the junction box on the wall. So you'll remove the plate cover and then you'll screw basically this into the junction box and you'll be good there. And it does come with screws. These, I don't know if these are standard size or what, but we won't actually need these because I have my own junction box. And that is pretty much everything that comes in the TP-Link EAP615 box. Installation of the EAP615 is actually very simple, especially for me, because I already have these wall plates or junction boxes for Ethernet run through the house. So all I have to do is basically remove this plate here and plug in the access point right here, and we're good to go. Now, there is one thing that I'm going to do a little bit differently than you'll probably do at home. So I already have a keystone here, an Ethernet keystone here, because my house comes with Ethernet. So I'm actually not going to re-terminate this cable, as in cut this off and turn it into an RJ45 head that you would actually need to plug into the back of the wall access point. So what I'm instead going to do is I'm actually just going to plug this into my keystone since I already have it done, and then we'll plug this into here, and that will provide power through the Ethernet to this device so the access point can start working. So yeah, this is not a standard install. I'm doing things a little bit differently because this is not my equipment. I will have to return this to Luis, who let me borrow it. All right, now the easy part. So we can just reuse the screws that were originally here with the wall plate and screw them into the junction box. And you really can't mess this up, because even if I were to reverse this, actually everything's in the way. If I were to reverse the actual mounting bracket, everything would still be in the same place. So there's really no way to, or right or wrong way to install it. So that's really neat. So we're just going to screw this in here. All right. And we're going to plug in our wall plate first. Stuff all the cables back inside. And you can see it's already got power, so it's already working. That's how simple this is. And then we're just going to hang it on here, if I can do this. There we go. All right. Nice and stuck, not going anywhere, no rotation. That's on there really good. And taking it off is actually really simple. You literally just lift up and it releases. Putting it back on the other hand, is not so simple. There we go. That's what the final installed product looks like. Not too bad. This is in the master bedroom closet, which is really nice. And I think you can actually turn the LED off here by pushing that button. So if this is in your bedroom and lights annoy you, that is actually one really cool feature that I like having. So just to show you, it turns on and off. We're gonna leave it on. And then of course, for some reason, if you're having trouble removing this by hand, you can stick a tool down in this hole here to release it, but obviously it comes off very easily and you don't actually need a tool to remove it. All right, I'm gonna show you guys how to adopt the access point. This should actually be pretty simple. As you can see here, I'm logged into the Omada controller on the OC200, and nothing has popped up yet, so we're just gonna give it a good refresh here and see if this thing automatically joins our network. Okay, well now that's here, let's go ahead and adopt this. It's pretty simple. Obviously, you just clicked on the adopt button here, and I am looking at the devices icon here. So from the home page, you click on devices and that'll take you here. And we just basically need to wait till this adopts, and we should be pretty good to go from here. And we should be able to join our wireless access point here momentarily to do a quick speed test. Okay, it's finally adopted, but before we run off and do speed tests, I know I said we would do them, but I wanted to show you guys a couple of things first, or change a couple of things first. So what we're going to do is click on the access point here. We're going to go to config, and we're actually going to change the name to something a little bit more friendly. So this one is in my office area, so I'm just going to call it office, and we're going to click apply there. So now the name is updated, so now we know where this access point is. Next, we're going to actually change the IP address from DHCP to static this way, so it always has the same IP address even if the power goes out or things of that nature. So we are on the parent/LAN subnet, and I'm going to give it an IP address of starting at 4, so 192.168.10.4. IP mask is 255.255.0, and of course our gateway is our router, which is 10.1. We don't need to have a DNS server or secondary DNS server, that's optional, but just for fun I will enter in our ER605 router. So hit apply there. Now these changes aren't going to take immediate effect. We should see the status change from connected to provisioning. It might take some time. Oh, there we go. I'm sorry, to configuring, not provisioning. Okay, so once that's done, then we will do the speed tests. All right, cool. Now that it's done, let's just take a quick look at what the radio settings are by default. Now, I'm not going to mess with these. I think that this should work fine for home. If you really wanted to, you could definitely change the radio settings to be more customized for your home environment. But I'm going to leave everything to auto, or basically out of the factory, to see what we get. And so we have the 2.4 gigahertz bands with a channel width of 20 or 40 megahertz. The channel is literally going to select, I guess, what's best. I'm not really sure. And then a high transmission power or high decibels. And the 5 gigahertz band is basically the same. We're going to leave all this default, but I did want to show you guys this just in case you have questions at what I'll be running here at home. All right, let's do our first speed test. Let's do it. Okay, I just want to give you guys an idea of where we have the access point set up. So it's in that corner right there. It's that white box that you can probably barely see. I have the iPad set up here. This is a Wi-Fi 6 capable device, and that's what we'll be doing the speed test with. And also, while we are talking about that, we are on channel 11 for our 2.4 gigahertz band, which is only being utilized by 22%, and we are on channel 153 for our 5 gigahertz band. So we should be well within the range of 5 gigahertz. So now when we do our speed test, we should get hopefully very close to the max bandwidth of 1,200 megabits per second. And so right out of the gate, without any configuration for me, our download speed is crushing it at 650 megabits per second, which is pretty freaking cool. Let's see how our upload speed does. All right, not too bad. 500 megabits per second up. That is not the 1,200 megabits that we could expect out of this thing at its max theoretical speed. But honestly, that's not bad, especially without any fine-tuning of the radios. So if you absolutely have to get the max bandwidth out of this thing, you will definitely want to configure your radios at home to make that happen. That's not something we're going to cover in this video, but there are definitely videos out there that will show you how to do that. All right, on to the next test. Okay, for the next test, we're basically just going to walk around the house doing a speed test with Wi-Fi Man. One access point is installed here inside the office, and then as we make our way into the foyer, I have an access point behind the TV, and then off into the left here is another access point in my kids' room that we installed. So we're going to walk out of the office. I don't know if you can see that. Out of the office into the living room. I should probably walk backwards for this part. Into the living room, and then all the way down into the master bedroom, where we will complete the test, hopefully doing a upload and download speed, and then we will do the same test walking from the master bedroom to the office and see what we get. All right, here we go with the first test. We're gonna start walking around the office, leaving the office, going into the living room, and finally into the bedroom. And now leaving the bedroom and going back to the office. Sweet, not bad. All right, we're repeating this test, but this time we're in the bedroom and now heading to the office to see what we get. All right, cool. Now in the office, let's go ahead and head back to the bedroom. So the final test consisted of me setting up one of the access points in the middle of the foyer and then standing right in front of it, doing a speed test, walking 20 feet away, doing a speed test, 50 feet away, doing a speed test, and 70 feet away and doing a speed test. I eventually ended up outside at the 50-foot mark, and then the 70-foot mark was at my property line. So it was pretty far out there. And we started off pretty strong. 0 feet to 20 feet did really well. Both were above 550 megabits per second during the downloads. And the upload was much better, being above 385 megabits per second. But once we got to that 50-foot and 70-foot range, things really took a dive from there. But I would say, considering how small this device is and what it's actually marketed for as being an in-home, or not in-home, but an inside use device, I wouldn't expect the range to be very good on this. But I think it does a surprisingly good job at these distances. So big surprise there. So those are the results. And remember, this is totally unoptimized. That is just letting the TP-Link hardware figure out what channels it needs to be on, what frequencies, all that, the bandwidth, all that stuff. It's just totally figured out by the device itself, or whatever magic is going on in the background there. So you could probably improve these speeds at home if you just played with your radio settings and really fine-tuned it if you wanted. Again, that's not something we're doing in this video, but nonetheless, I'm pretty impressed with these, and you know, I'm a huge Ubiquiti fan, so I feel like I need to pick up Ubiquiti's Wall version of this to see what those are capable of, and see if I can really just cover the entire house and improve it. And not to mention, they both have gigabit ports on the bottom, which really just kind of cleans up the look, in my opinion, when you have network jacks on the wall. So anyway, with all of that being said, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching this. And again, thank you, Luis, for sending these to me and then allowing me to check them out. And yeah, I believe that wraps it all up. Cheers.